So Dr. Michael Magic Mike Likey performed 2,500 shows in the 80s and the 90s, and his television program ran for 9 years. Today, he is a member of the Magic Circle, an international brotherhood of magicians. He is the first VP of the International Assembly 272 of the Society of American Magicians, as well as their Canadian envoy. He is the International Development Coordinator, National Appointment of the SAM, and board member of the Association des Magiciens Internationaux, author of more than 85 hardcover and paperback books on Amazon. He has been published many times in MUM Magazine and The Linking Ring. He is also the host presenter of the international webcast Magic News Network, produced by and written by Anthony Darkstone. So here's a little promo video, and looking for it. Here we go. Enjoy. It's only a minute or two.
If you enjoyed reading Ghosts and Spirits or Bizarre, you'll love Psyched.
Everyone give Dr. Mikey a round of applause.
Thank you.
Welcome.
What a pleasure and an honor to be here today, John.
Absolutely. It's my honor to have you here.
How did you like that unabashed promo for the latest book?
Yes. I'm looking on Amazon as we speak. So let's see what you prepared for us today, and then we'll get into a little Q&A about you and your career and how you got into magic and how you got into this genre of spooky magic, I guess you can call it.
Spooky magic, yes, very pet. I refer to him as a pet, and sometimes kids love this, others are repelled by it. Quite frankly, I think it's a cute novelty prop. We're going to bring into this as well the tarot. And I started off in metaphysics as a tarot card reader, for lack of a better term. And I just love the power of the tarot. If indeed each card does have power, I believe that the tarot cards activate our unconscious mind, whatever symbols, just as Carl Jung had suggested, we maintain in our unconscious mind or our subconscious mind symbols. That's why we're sort of born into the belief or the recognition of stars, of crosses, of various skull and crossbones. It's almost embedded into our DNA, and I believe there's a certain truth to that. I'd like to ask somebody out there, perhaps John could highlight a spectator, someone present, who might help me with this experiment. And there we go. We have Paul. Paul, how are you today?
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so. I don't know if you agreed to help me. I'm going to say thank you so much for helping, for agreeing to help me, or if you were caught off guard suddenly. This is my attempt using oversized cards at doing what we call a Hindu shuffle. And anytime that feels right, just simply call stop.
Okay, stop, please.
So I'm going to get you and the folks out there to remember the name of this card. It matters not if I see it or know what it is. Did you see that, John?
I
Paul?
did. I did.
Awesome. We're going to spread the cards out thusly. And let's see if we can catch a better glimpse of them on camera. There we are. We can mostly see them. The next part of this involves, I love this. I love it purely for the aesthetics. It's a rose quartz, if you will, hanging by a chain. People refer to this in certain circles as, we'll say in New Age circles, as a pendulum. I do believe the pendulum is also a key to the unconscious mind, because I believe when one holds it and attempts to steady it, that something in our unconscious mind makes us move our arm, then our hand. It telegraphs a message unconsciously, allowing the pendulum to swing back and forth, either to elicit a yes or no answer. So let's attempt to do this today. We're going to attempt to find Paul's card in no uncertain terms. Now, I'm obviously helping this along.
Whoa. Great.
Word of few words.
I have to tell you, that's not only foul, but that's the first time I've been upstaged by a skeleton bird. He seems to, or it seems to have stopped me in a specific position on the table amongst the cards. And for the first time, Paul, can you name your card?
Was it two swords?
Two of Swords. Looks like we've got it.
Yes, indeed.
There we go.
Excellent.
There we go. We're going to turn the rest of our presentation over to John. And we'll just move a little bit this off to the side so we have the room here. There we go. That's just a small, there we go, just a small sampling of what I present when I do my presentations, if you will, or experiments of the mind, as I used to call them. Or I like to call them that, but most people say, oh, chicanery, trickery. No, they don't.
Where do you tend to perform your illusions in your parlor shows?
Most recently, it was at a venue called Science World in Vancouver, Canada, on the west coast of Canada. And it was a perfect sort of venue for me because it was families. It wasn't a birthday party situation. And people were already open to the concept. I just want to frame myself a little bit better. People were open to the concept. They were just open in general. But the kids were really good. The kids weren't screaming or calling out or jumping up and down. I had some wonderful assistance from some, we'll say young people. They were around 12, 13 years old, and some adults as well. And it amazed me because I'm coming from a background of doing family-oriented kid shows and people screaming and all that sort of thing. So it's nice in the last few years to make that shift into the genre.
When did you start your magic, the love of magic? How old were you?
Oh boy, I must have been at least 6, maybe younger. And in Montreal, where I was born and raised, we were exposed to a lot of television from the East Coast, such as New York, Plattsburgh, etc. So at a very early age, I was exposed to Mark Wilson and the Magic Land of Alakazam. And to me, that touched something within me. It was exciting and truly magical. I knew on some level it was trickery, but in my heart, it was like my heart lit up. So Magic Land of Alakazam highly influenced me. And that was my first exposure to television magic. We also had, growing up in Montreal, a magician 6 or 7 days a week called Magic Tom Auburn. And a lot of magicians growing up in Montreal, they called themselves Magic Mark, Magic whoever. I was Magic Mike as well. And that was the first physically real, to us it was a real magician that we could go out and touch and see his shows, because he did malls. He did a venue called Piazza Tommaso, a restaurant where he did walk around. And then the Amazing Kreskin some years later.
Oh, yeah.
And, I think I was 14 then when Kreskin's show came on the air. It was syndicated pretty much around the world, but it was out of Ottawa in its first season.
Mhm.
And of course, I knew it was trickery, having been exposed to magic and having played with magic in Montreal. We had several world-class magic shops. So it was easy for an aspiring magician to go and to buy magic, to be consulted with a magician who was usually the owner of the shop. So for me, Montreal was magic. Montreal was a magic city. It might still be. I haven't been back in 20 years. Lights. It was very much like Vegas as well. Almost every venue had a magician, restaurants, etc. So it's kind of a long-winded answer. I hope I did answer your question there, John.
Sure. No, absolutely. Did you have any specific magicians that you were growing up that you wanted to emulate, or inspired you to first of all, continue the art of magic, but then get into the areas of magic that you specialize in now?
Yes, most certainly. As I'd mentioned before, it was Magic Tom Auburn, Mark Wilson. Every Sunday on television in Montreal, Sunday morning, we had TV shows from all over the world, from England, China, Japan, all of these places. And so I was also, and Ed Sullivan, of course, those of a certain age, we were exposed to that.
Yes.
So I loved Fantasio. I loved Paul Daniels, the fellow whose name escapes me. He invented the pom-poms. Someone out there in our audience might mention his name. All of those. And then when I went on to work in a venue in Toronto, when I moved to Toronto, we had world-class magicians there from all over the world, and especially other parts of Canada. And I loved it, but I always went back to mentalism, or mental magic, if you will, magic of the mind. And Kreskin's show lasted 5 years, and I was able to somehow sit down. I still don't know how. I guess it's an inquiring mind of sorts. I have half a mind, John. And I would sit down and try to figure out the effects. I had quite a few books by Animan at the time. I had quite a few trick decks, including Mark Dex and Galley decks and all of them. And somehow I was able to, and because I'm an artist as well, I made comic books featuring a character named Frederick actually doing Kreskin's effects, so I wouldn't forget these effects. And then I collected them. I put them all together in a little box. What it was really was a hollowed out phonograph record player, if you will. You might remember those. They're back
Right.
in style again.
Mhm.
And so I'd keep all these tricks together and practice them and show my parents mostly. And in high school, I would do card tricks, a lot of gambling type things. A lot of the kids wouldn't play cards with me. Those that did quickly learned I could win at blackjack and poker, etc. Just for fun. I've never done that seriously in other venues. And but something about mental magic and Ted Animan and those that came before him and since fascinated me, because I always did believe in the power of the mind. And fast forward years later, besides being a graphic designer, I went to college for that. Years later, I became a clinical hypnotherapist and doctor of theocentric psychology, where I would help my clients using their unconscious or subconscious mind to heal issues. So there's a little bit of a tie-in, if you will.
And you have multiple PhDs, right?
I do, in fact. One is a DD, a Doctor of Divinity. So technically, I'm Reverend Dr. Michael Leike. I'm Dr. Michael Leike, not physician, but because of the PhDs, I can call myself doctor. The Doctor of Theocentric Psychology, or God-centered psychology, if you will. And just a PhD, a general one in metaphysics. And boy, that journey was incredible. That was a journey of about 10 or 15 years where I didn't give up my magic, but I kind of put it on hold to get those degrees while I was still doing my metaphysical practice, and never stopped trying to create new magic tricks, publishing them in magazines, etc. And it can be so rewarding, not just, as you know, as all of you present and those who are listening or watching this out there are aware of. Magic is so rewarding, whether you're actually performing it, that's great, incredible, the energy in itself, or writing about it, creating. My favorite thing is to try to create. And in the genre which I arrived at only in the last couple of years, I never dreamt that I would be a bizarre, if you will, magician. It started with my entry into the magic circle in England.
Hmm.
And if you wish, I could elaborate on that. If not,
Sure.
well,
We have some time left.
I have as a mentor, and I'm very grateful for him, Dr. Anthony Darkstone, who I believe is present as well. And he was sort of my more than advisor as to what to put together. It wasn't a question of having enough tricks to get into the magic circle. It was picking. It was feeling. It was seeing magic in an entirely different manner than what I was used to previously. And if you will, it's going to sound a little bit corny, but I believe that I found the real magic in this life, in this world, during that journey towards the magic circle. For example, I picked effects I hadn't done in at least 20, 30 years. We were talking earlier off camera about cups and balls. This was a 2-cup routine from the Camerand Academy. I used to always do it, but it's different than the standard Di Vernon, other 3-cups and balls routine. Michael Amar does an incredible version as well. And I liked it because it was different. It employed not only just 2 cups, but a little shot glass, which I thought added a different aesthetic, and a silk scarf or handkerchief. And I added to this something said inside, add a mystical or old world flair. So I went on YouTube looking for copyright-free material, music that is, and I found Disney-like music. And as most of you may or may not be familiar with the psychology behind Disney films, there's peaks and valleys, emotional peaks and valleys.
Sure.
You're taken not only on a visual journey, but on an emotional and, I might dare say, spiritual journey in a lot of the Disney films and cartoons. This was it. That sparked something within me. When I heard that music and started to put the effect to it, it conjured up, pun intended, it conjured up my childhood. Though there was nothing relating to my childhood physically, the mood, the feeling, that sense of wonder, which I had as a child, I've since recaptured, if you will, and the mystical aspect, because I grew up a little bit around mysticism. My dad was a drummer, a well-known drummer in Montreal, and my mother was not. She raised me. I was an only child, as Groucho Marx would say. My brother is an only child, and she was into the psychic realm a little bit, and or more than a little bit, believed she could do mediumship. She never did it for money, but it was something that was always around the house. So I took for granted that's normal, that European families can do that. I have a fair amount, if you will, if you believe in that gift. I like to call it intuition. I don't like to call it psychic ability. For a number of reasons, because it evokes skepticism and fear-based stuff. But intuition, how many of us, when we listen to our heart, we're almost always right, or it
That
always.
little voice in your back of your head. That's right.
You betcha. That still small voice, if you will. So, having been exposed to that at a very early age, it was a natural transition after having been accepted into the magic circle. Um, I found myself starting to change my thoughts, my attitudes a little bit. One effect, one illusion, which I've done since the 80s, is the floating or tilting table. And go on Facebook.
Well, we
Those
saw
are
that in the promo. It was a little piece of
right.
it
There
in
you
the
go.
promo video.
I love that. There's something that speaks to me about that, not only for the seance aspect, but it's something aesthetically pretty, I believe. And you can't far ruin it, even if you're kind of sloppy and prance around a little bit or whatever. You can still manage to create an aesthetically beautiful effect, and you can tie that into mentalism, the spirit realm, if you will, all sorts of things. So I love that table. It's the original one I bought from Abbott's, but I put the guts. Magicians will know what I'm talking about. The clam magic table is gimmicked, and I put the guts from that into the Abbott's table. I had to alter it because the clam table is quite large. The Abbott's table is quite small, and I've been using it ever since. And it's usually my closer and elicits the strongest probably response of everything.
Yeah, I do a Lysander table, and I think that is just such a magical visual where you make the table float magically, and then you get someone else to assist you also in
Yes.
making the magic happen. You one point you brought up that I subscribe to is going back to your childhood and finding things that made you wonder as a kid, and things that you grabbed onto, and then incorporating those into magic as an adult to try to bring the audience back to the time where life was carefree and wonderful and mystical and magical. And I think that that's the secret, at least to some of my magic, is to get people back to those really wonderful days of childhood and the awe and wonder. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the periods, one of the decades in time, if you will, I've always been attracted to the 1800s. Hence this garb, hence the look of my show. They call it steampunk nowadays. I like to call it the 1800s, Wild West too, if you will.
mhm.
I've got quite the collection of hats as well, partially relating to that period as well. And I like collecting artifacts from that period. And I hope my magic props reflect that a little bit as well. The other period are the 70s. For other reasons, I love it, but never really applied the look and feel of the 70s to my magic. Something mystical and magical about old things.
Yeah,
About
you don't have the Doug Henning hair, so
I used to. I used to. Nor the bell bottoms.
right. So as I read your bio, it talked about how you are involved with so many different magic organizations. How did that come about?
That came about actually in the 80s or 90s. I was at a magic convention in Montreal. It was called Magie Montréal. And he did this for many years, Phil Matlin, the owner of Perfect Magic. And he and someone else whose name escapes me used to put these world-class conventions together. One year, I was invited. I wasn't invited. I was coerced. No, I wasn't coerced either. At a convention in the 80s in Montreal, I was signed up. I applied to the SAM and had a couple of sponsors right there on the spot willing to sponsor me, if you will. And then I wasn't living in Montreal at the time. I had long moved to a great city in central Canada called Winnipeg, where I found, if you want to call it success, where I did my TV show and 250 shows a year. Why those people in Winnipeg chose me to be able to do that out there, I'm grateful for it, but I still don't know why. In any case, I was in Winnipeg at the time. I was invited there to join their local club. I think they had two at the time. There was Circle 7, Circle Magic 7 or something, and another one. They were both IBM and SAM affiliates, Society of American Magicians, International Brotherhood of Magicians. And I have belonged since the 80s or 90s, not consistently though. So my card, my SAM card says I'm a member 20 years. I'm really a member since the 80s. However, they only counted from when you've rejoined. There's that
Right.
gap because I did my studies. And I love the camaraderie. Every club is different. Where I'm residing right now in Vancouver, Canada, west coast of Canada, there's at least three, there may be more, three magic organizations affiliated with IBM and or SAM rather. And they're so different. Even though some of the same magicians belong to each one, there's a different feel completely. And that fascinates me. What brings us together, of course, is the love of magic, the sharing. I'm not big into competitions, though. I'm not afraid to win or lose. I don't care to compete with my fellow magicians. It's not something that ever interested me. Unfortunately, one of our local clubs is very big on the competitions, and it's like, well, see you next time.
Right.
However, I do love the camaraderie. I do love the sharing, and the thing we have in common is a love of magic. And many of us have a very similar background as well, in that many of us have started at an early age, maybe 6, certainly 14. And I've noticed that in the world of magic as well. There's decades where magicians started, stopped, and resumed magic again, and that's kind of fascinating as well.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into writing books and you I think I read what 85
Now there's
publications.
85, yes.
That's crazy.
It is, but I think I'm crazy as well, so it all works out really well.
Okay.
I've always loved writing. I've always written. When I was a graphic designer, professional graphic designer, I did a little bit of copywriting as well. Had to throw that in as part of, designing the ads, etc. I was always good in school at writing, or the teachers seemed to think so, and I always enjoyed it, most importantly. And at a certain point in my life, I decided, well, I'm not going to retire, although I am or was at retirement age. I'm just going to do the stuff that I love. Not having to do stuff to make a living, to make a buck, but just because I love it. One of them was magic. It's like, okay, I don't have 3, 4 agents anymore booking me. There's not that pressure. I'll perform when and where I want to. I love Zoom, by the way. Hopefully that comes across. And the other thing was writing. And that was tied into my metaphysical degrees. I found very inspiring sources of information to share with my potential students, patients, and clients, and they seem to have enjoyed it. So my first 65 books were all metaphysical, self-help related, mainly meditation and yoga and all that sort of thing, self-help stuff that people could clue into and perhaps help themselves with. And then in the last 10 years or so, there goes the voice again. In the last 10 years or so, magic. And I thought, okay, I believe I've written all I could about metaphysics and self-help. Magic all of a sudden came into my head, or rather I got inspired, and I started by taking some of the tricks that I had published in the SAM periodical MUM and the IBM periodical The Linking Ring. And because I owned the rights, I mean, it's my work, I turned them into books, extended versions of the articles. That excited me. I had pretty positive feedback from the magic community about that. So I thought, and this is how it works for me, John. I don't know if it works like this for other artists or writers. but I'll be sitting around totally not thinking about writing or topics or whatever, and suddenly the title will come to me. That's all I can explain it as. I'm baffled as well. Maybe it's something that's meant to be, or I don't know what, but all of the recent books that are on Amazon, the hardcover and paperback books, the title came to me and I could see the visuals. I could see the photographs that I was to take and all of that. And when I write, this is the process. Again, I don't want to get too airy-fairy or metaphysical with you all out there or present here. I'll just write and it sort of flows through. And I'm not looking at what I'm writing. It's like I'm writing through a fog. The way I'm seeing the screen, the computer screen, it's like there's jelly or gel or something in front of it. All I can see are some of the words underlined in red, which means I've misspelled some words. And I'm just doing that. And then at the end of the day or an hour or two later, when I feel like I've written enough, I'll look at the pages and well, I have to say, I was going to say either it works or it doesn't. It all seems to make sense. And my wife, who is a former, also retired teacher's assistant, I used to get her to proofread my stuff. I do sometimes. She usually just reads the finished results. It usually works. Astounding. I'll get the table of contents first. I'll write the titles as they come to me and then fill it all in. I'm still baffled by it. I'm thankful that I can do that. Most importantly, I'm thankful that I contribute, hopefully, in some way to the magic community and maybe hopefully increase the quality of other people's lives by them reading these books.
Do you edit your own work?
I do. And sometimes when I say poorly, I mean ruthlessly. I'll go through stuff and it's like, oh no, this isn't working. Boom, just cut. Other times I'll have to cut and paste or copy and paste because it makes more sense to have this section in that chapter, etc.
Sure.
And so that's sort of how I work a little bit generally. And it's very rewarding for me. I get to design the covers as a graphic designer as well. And I just want to briefly share with you how the cover for Ghosts and Spirits came about. May I do that?
Sure.
All right. So the cover of Ghosts and Spirits, if you want to Google that and look it up on Amazon, is what's referred to as the Cephalalgia, which was created by Stuart James. It has his initials in the title, Cephalalgia. And cephalalgia, merely pronounced, the word, is a medical term for headache or head that hurts. And it's the spirit cabinet, not the one I demonstrated tonight or today, but it's another one that I built with a little curtain in front, and it harkens back to the 1800s, where different things manifest and various things happen. I don't want to give that away so that you can actually see the video of me doing it on YouTube or catch other people doing it. It's not original, but my tricks, effects, or manifestations that I bring to the effect are original, because this was basically created in the early 1900s. And it's not that it's not relevant, but a lot of modern day folks, young people, middle-aged people might look and go, so this happened, who cares, so what? So I thought I would upgrade a little bit the effect. And there's a long-winded way of getting to the cover. I haven't forgotten that. For example, there's a smoking cigar. I'll give that away as part of the effect. Perhaps the ghost likes to smoke. And the cigar is half smoked and sitting in an ashtray. And suddenly, upon my command or whatever, smoke starts to come out. Now, the original methodology involved what I consider to be dangerous chemicals. Don't kid yourself. I went looking because I wanted to make it as close to the original as possible. And my wife kind of was scared for me. She said, you're buying that? There's a reason why it's in a container like that, or there's a reason why they're selling it only, to adults or whatever. And I thought, oh my goodness, why don't I just use, I'm not tipping anything, a small device that creates smoke. and there being many on the market, I bought one and it works great by
Yeah.
remote. So this cabinet was the cover of Ghosts and Spirits, and I put in a nice background, an old-fashioned looking background, and it gave a good feel of bizarre magic, I thought. And of course, I couldn't stop. I thought Ghosts and Spirits was going to be it. A lot of magicians did buy that book, and thank you out there, those of you who did. And then I came up with the idea, or it came to me. I was in the washroom. I get great ideas when I'm in the washroom shaving or whatever. Bizarre. And I thought, what? You know, I don't hear it. I usually see it. I don't hear voices, John, but I do see visuals sometimes of the covers or whatever. Bizarre. Oh my God, here's another idea for a book. And we'll make it just the tricks or the illusions or effects in my bizarre magic show. And so the bulk of that book are photographs, descriptions. I have to be very careful when I publish books publicly on Amazon to not necessarily give things away to lay people. So I'm general in my descriptions, but magicians get it, or they will get it when they read that. They'll go, oh yeah, he's talking about this and that. Okay. So I'm not ever giving anything away through my books online, through Amazon. I kind of wanted to make that clear to purists out there, or just magicians in general. And so that was bizarre. The second book, now I'm calling it a series in the series of bizarre magic books. And the third and most recent one, I don't remember if there was one before that, is this current one called Psyched. Again, the title came to me and I thought, what a brilliant, I don't believe it was my idea. I believe it came through the universe through me. Psyched could mean psyched out, could mean psychology, could mean like me, I'm psychotic.
Psycho. Uh-huh.
Miss Psycho, yes, very good, very good. And again, I saw the visuals. All three covers are similar, but it's the cephalalgia evolved. So I've added a little bit. If you look at the covers of all three books, you'll see the backgrounds, of course, are different. The colors are different, but the cephalalgia kind of evolves. I put more, something more in each one. That's for magicians out there that like to look at stuff, or trivia people that like to look at stuff like that. I'm most proud of this current book, Psyched, of which we showed the promo earlier, because it's 4 books in one. And I don't mean to advertise. I'm not saying this to advertise. It's because I'm truly excited about it. It's 4 books in one for the price of one, if you will. And included in that book is how to develop your character, as well another section on developing, I like to say developing your spiritual health. It's essentially a primer on Tai Chi, which I do every day, twice a day. Tai Chi, Qigong, and Gong Fu or Kung Fu. I don't know where I'd be without all that, and meditation as well. So it kind of, the aim of the book is to present to the magic community an holistic approach. So the magician is hopefully healthy. It improves his performances, his or her performances on stage. It gives them ideas for bizarre magic effects, and maybe even creating. I go into a little bit of the psychology behind creating effects.
So we're running a little short on time. Before I open the open it to questions from the audience, I have a question that I like to ask. And I never prepare the magician for this question. So don't feel like you're alone in this.
Of course.
What is your definition of magic?
I believe I've touched on it a little bit. And magic is whatever in this world moves us. Whether we look at a landscape, whether we go out and look at the sea or a body of water or a bird or a leaf on a tree, that first, well, now I'm going to be moved because it's been a while since I've lived out east, that first snowfall, the smell of the first snowfall, the sight, the sound of nature, anything that awakens or reawakens something within us, that's magic.
My definition, and it's always evolving, but is magic is the feeling you get when your senses see something or experience something that your brain does not know how to deal with.
Very good. Very
So
good.
I wanted to open to everyone here. Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Mikey?
John, can you hear me?
Yes, Micah, I can.
Thank you. Dr. Mike, it's always a pleasure. And I just wanted to mention, Dr. Michael was our first international performer for the Night of the Raven. He submitted this gorgeous video that was our opener for the entire show. And it got so many good reviews from the audience, more than me. I'm not bitter. No, I'm
What are you
just the
trying to say, Micah? What are you trying to say?
Nothing, John. I'm not trying to say anything. I don't know why you even asked that question, because I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just saying, Dr. Michael, Dr. Michael, you were the star of the show. You were a huge hit, and I just wanted to say thank you, man.
Wow. Thank you, Micah. I was so honored to have that video accepted, because it's what I do. I like it. I was proud of it. And I thought, well, let me put that out there. It's to be honest, I don't like to fly, which isn't good for a magician.
Right.
If he wants to do shows, or a real magician, if you will. I don't care to fly. Technically, we don't live that far from LA. We could have just driven down. As I get older, I don't like to fly. I don't like to physically travel. So I thought, would Micah consider showing this video of me in lieu of me showing up there? I'm so glad and honored and thankful that you did accept that. I will prepare another one. I'm assuming there's going to be another Poe presentation.
Yes.
Where do you live, Michael?
Pardon me?
Where do you live?
I live in Vancouver, Canada, which is on the west coast of Canada.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dr. Michael, thank you again, sir. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
And I would be honored, assuming they bring us back, I'd be honored to have you back. So thank you, man.
Thank you so much, Micah. Great.
I wanted to say a shout out to Anthony Darkstone for introducing me to the wonderful Mr. Likey, Dr. Likey. And that's going to wrap up our return to Inside the Magician Studio for all those who...
One thing, John, I was not here at the beginning, so hopefully still, I'm sure you all did it. Congratulations to Barry Wallace.
For, I
talked about before I got on. I got late, but congratulations to Barry.
Yeah. Excellent.
Can't wait to your first appearance at the castle.
I wanted to invite all of you new members who joined, because I had Dr. Michael Likey on. It's the same time every Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I got some surprises coming up. I mentioned Banachek as one of them, which I'm super excited to interview and have him share some of his secrets to his success.
Is there a permanent link to this then?
It's the same link every week.
Okay, great.
So the one you use today will work for time to come. I have lost track. Lou, you might be able to help, but we're in the 130s.
Yeah.
Magicians that have. Thank you, Micah, for posting the link in the chat. I think we're in the 130s of different magicians that have graced our stage here and presented their thoughts and magic. So I plan on continuing this until I run out of magicians, which I don't know if possible. So anyone else here who has contacts to someone who I might not know, please make an introduction. Anybody who might be interested in being featured on Inside the Magician Studio. And for that, I wanted to wish all you moms a happy Mother's Day on Sunday.
I have one more question.
And Micah, don't forget. And what can I say? Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
I have one more question.
I'm going to put Barry on the spot. John, when is Barry on our schedule?
Yes. Yeah.
We will be having an offline conversation about that.
One other question, please. Is there any chance we can see that video that upstaged the guy that was talking about the video?
I'm sorry, which video were you talking about?
Okay.
Dr.
Talking about-
Likey's video that was at the Night of the Raven, I think you're talking about.
Yeah, it was on the poll thing. I'll tell you what, Michael has got that clip. Micah has got the clip. Michael himself has got that clip.
Oh, I see.
So, and I can tell you, I'm glad you've asked that actually, because it is, pick an adjective: awesome, stimulating, fascinating, wonderful. Let me choose whichever adjective you like, or all of them. It is well worth seeing. That's all I would say. And if you want to see some more stuff on Michael, there's a gala show coming up on the 17th of June. He's in it, along with some very interesting names. That's all I'll say at this stage.
And where will that be? Will that
On
be
Zoom.
online?
Yep, it will indeed.
And is there a charge to join?
Not really. There is a small ticket expense, which, if you're a member of the SAM, the Magic Circle, or IBM, etc., you can have a discount. But every ticket holder automatically goes into this is a first. You are the first people to know this. Every ticket holder, and it's not per person, it's per device, goes into a draw at the end. And we have two prizes. One of them is the book Sight by Michael.
Hey.
The other one is I Saw That by Ariel Freilich. And we probably have a third prize. I haven't determined what that will be just yet. The ticket money basically is a fundraiser that will go to, we've done that quite a bit. At least it's a personal thing of mine. I like to do it. And it's not like, charging people 50 or $100. It's just, token thing. Nobody makes any money. It's all done for the love of it. Every single one of those 14 artists that I've booked from Arizona, Las Vegas, Canada, Spain, Portugal, South Africa. Well, you'll see when the posts come out. Yeah, you'll see. So Michael's in it, obviously. And we
Please send me a flyer and I will
oh yeah,
add it.
absolutely, John. You're on my list anyway. Of comp tickets. So, we send a couple of comps out. You're welcome. You do so
I
much.
appreciate that.
You
but
do-
I'd
well,
love to
I mean,
advertise it to
Yeah,
my.
it's not that you can't afford $5, but it's just a gesture of, because you do so much, and just a gesture I like to make from time to time with a few people. It is under the Association de Magiciens Internationaux banner, which is a relatively newish organization. We've been working on that now for the best part of since last year in October. It will all come to fruition by the end of June, early July, and you can join it if you wish. But enough of that. But the gala is under that banner. And Michael, I'm delighted to say, I invited him as a member of the board. And he is a wonderful member of the board. And we
Awesome.
and we're soon going to be a FISM recognized, probably the first ever virtual magic club that will be FISM recognized.
Very
Because
good.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm just going to keep on bragging for a second, if I may, because I'm so proud of this. Our president is none other than Arthur Tivoli from France.
Right.
Many of you will know the name, and
He's done my Zoom in the past.
yeah, what he's done. And Arthur is currently a FISM judge, and through his efforts, we will be a FISM accredited club as well. And young Mr. Black Belt here is helping me tremendously behind the scenes with lots of admin and things. So it's all kind of exciting, and we just do it for the love of it all. Nobody's getting paid. We're all just kind of just doing it because we just want to. That's it. But Michael's on the gala show. That's really what I wanted to say. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen what he's doing. Don't waste your money buying a ticket. It's rubbish. It's useless.
And thanks for your
What-
support.
Oh, there's Arthur. Yeah. What do you want me to say? You know, yeah, of course I love Michael. He's brother from a different
This
mother.
is a still from the
From
show
Arthur.
he did
Yeah, from
or,
Arthur. Arthur's magnificent.
or Inside the Magician Studio back in
Yeah.
August of 2021.
Yeah.
So he's
Well, I'll tell you what Arthur's going to do on the gala show. I can tell you, I'm not going to spoil it. He's going to do his tribute to René Lavant.
yes.
Oh, sweet.
He's only going to use one hand, and the line I cannot do it.
And the
any slower.
the breadcrumb routine.
Cannot do. I'm not going to say anymore. You have to watch it.
Okay.
You have to watch it. Wouldn't be fair to him or anybody else.
Absolutely. All right,
What-
guys, please share the news about Inside the Magician's show returns. And hopefully the CC guys, now that they're getting back from Italy, will be back joining us and spread the word. And I'll see you guys all next Friday.
See you.
Thanks so
Great weekend,
much.
everyone.
Have a great day.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.